Hi and welcome. Today I want us to talk about boundaries and the importance of boundaries. But before we get into it, let's start by understanding what boundaries are in the first place. Also, I'll answer questions like, can you set boundaries and still be a loving person? Or what if somebody is upset by the boundaries that you've set? We'll talk all about that in today's video. If you're not subscribed already, can I welcome you to subscribe? And as we get on in today's video, I want to hear from you in the comment section. What are your thoughts? What would you start doing differently? Let's get into it. What are boundaries? A boundary is a psychological line that you put between yourself and others. It dictates how you want to be treated. It's a line that you put that defines your physical space. It defines your likes, your wants, what you don't want to engage in. So why are boundaries important? I know some people who argue vehemently to say that boundaries are not important, they don't need boundaries, but let's talk about why boundaries are important. In your relationship, at work, with people that you're familiar with and people who you're not familiar with, all of those places require you to have boundaries if you want to interact in a healthy way with all the parties involved. Is it important to set boundaries? Well, imagine with me a scenario. You have a friend, but every time your friend is constantly calling you and asking you to do something for her. It's irrespective of whether you have your own plans and you have your own things to get to. She always wants you to come and do something. And it's always like, oh, come on, please. I'm really desperate. I need your help. The children need to be taken care of and I quickly need to run an errand. And she would not care what you're doing. And she would not care whether you already have plans for yourself. But she just constantly is asking you to do one thing or another. And then imagine you on the other side. Every time she calls you to do something, you say yes. Even though you really want to say no, even though you have plans for the day, you want to spend time with your family, you have got work to finish up, but because you find it so hard to say no, you just keep saying yes. You keep saying yes. And after you're done with it, you're probably exhausted, upset, and you will probably vent to other people or some other friend about this friend who keeps asking you to do stuff. You know, like, oh my goodness, can she not just get her life together? Have you had those kind of conversations with anybody or heard people say that, like, oh, why does she always need my help? However, even though she's always needing your help, which she has a right to, I mean, everybody and anybody can do whatever they want until you tell them otherwise. So this friend who keeps asking you over and again to do stuff, but you keep saying yes, even though you want to say no. So what do you think is going on there? You keep saying yes, you keep saying yes. But that's because you're not enforcing your boundaries. That's because you are not clearly defining what you want for yourself and how you want to be treated. And so this friend, because you're constantly saying yes, will keep asking and she'll keep taking advantage. So using that scenario, I hope you can begin to see why it's important to set boundaries. So with that friend, it will be important for you to actually say, you know what, Susie, I love to help you, but I have my own plans as well. And it will be important for you to be able to say, Susie, I wish I could help you on this occasion, but I've got plans and I can't make it. You want to be able to say no, because the more you keep saying yes, and every time she calls you, you say yes, the more she's going to take advantage. And the more she'll feel like, well, yeah, she said yes. She could have said no, but you keep saying yes. So imagine with me another scenario, a second scenario at work, where every time they need somebody to do something, they call on you because they know that you're the willing one, you're the nice one, you will always say yes. And they call on you, oh, you know what, can you cover this shift? Yes. Can you do that? Yes. People will neglect their responsibilities and assign it to you. Maybe something that they should have done. And they'll be like, oh, you know what, Judith, can you please just, cover this up for me, or just stand in place for me? Can you just run the reports? And you just go, yes, yes, yes. What do you think is happening there? You are letting them take advantage of your ability to support the team. You are not enforcing boundaries. And guess what's going to happen? Soon, you will be depleted. Soon, you may just actually begin to resent your coworkers because they're neglecting their own work. They're neglecting the activities and work that they should be doing, and instead asking you to support because they know you will say yes. In those two scenarios I pointed, very quickly, your willingness to support and to be a helpful friend or a team player will quickly turn into resentment. You will not like the people you're working with. You will not like this friend because you now feel like they're taking advantage of your niceness. They're taking advantage of your support. Hence why it is important to set boundaries. It's important to clearly state how you want to be treated. You can set these boundaries by the things you turn down. You can set these boundaries by communicating it verbally to the people involved. But when you don't have these boundaries, people will take advantage. When you don't have boundaries, people will treat you the way that they feel you should be treated. They will treat you the way that they feel that you want to be treated, even though clearly that's not what you want. But because you're constantly saying yes and you're not stopping them and you're not correcting them, they would assume you're okay with it, you like it, and that it is fine with you. So to answer the question, can you set boundaries and still be a loving person? The answer is absolutely yes, you can. As a matter of fact, because you love that person, then you will set boundaries because you don't want eventually for your relationship to go down the drain because you didn't set boundaries. So for example, in the story, in the scenario with your friend where you're constantly saying yes, after a while you will soon begin to resent her, and before you know it, your relationship is no longer good because you didn't set boundaries. So yes, in setting boundaries, you're actually being a loving person because you can say, hey Susie, I love you, I'd love to support, but right now I can't. By setting those boundaries and saying yes when you actually can and would love to, you're strengthening that relationship. You're building trust and you're showing the other person that you're dependable, because when you say yes, you really mean yes and you're happy about it and your attitude reflects that. So yes, you can be a loving person and still set boundaries, and actually set boundaries because you want to continue to be a loving person. And to answer the second question, what if someone is upset by my boundary setting or by my boundaries? Well, if they really love you and if they really care about you, they're not going to be upset. They will respect your decisions, because really the boundary is not about you being arrogant and inconsiderate. It's actually you respecting yourself and respecting them, and to protect both of you so that you are available in a healthy way for them. So if somebody is upset by your boundaries, then have a conversation with them. Help them understand that this is important to you. And I want to believe that if they're truly for you, they will understand. But if they still don't understand, let them go. They're not worth the trouble. They're not worth the energy drain. If somebody who cares about you cannot understand why it's important for you to say no at sometimes, then they don't want what's healthy for you and they don't want what's best for you. And why do you want to keep such people around? I hope this is helping you so far. If it is, give it a thumbs up. And also I want to hear from you in the comment section. Can people who love you actually be upset by your boundary setting? And if so, what are you going to start doing about it? As I conclude this video, I want you to remember that boundaries are important for your well-being and actually for others. If you love yourself and if you love others, you will set boundaries because they define how you want to be treated. If you don't tell people how you want to be treated, they will treat you however they want, however they think you want to be treated, even though it's totally not what you are expecting. If you don't take advantage of your time, people will use your time for their advantage. So boundary setting is not you deciding to be arrogant, to be self-centered. It's you loving yourself enough to give yourself room, but also respecting other people so that you can bring your best self to them every time. Okay, that's the end of today's video. I want to hear from you. And if you're not subscribed already, go on and subscribe, and I will catch you next time. But until then, you can go over to ChristianaSenibo.com, where I share more resources on how you can be your absolutely very best. There's also more information in the description box. You take care. She's walking on fire. This girl is on fire.